Emotional attachments are not just memories, they're chains, silently shaping your choices, your relationships, and even your future. And the worst part? Most of us never realize we're trapped until it's too late. Carl Jung, the revolutionary thinker in psychology, believed these attachments are more than fleeting emotions. They're unconscious forces tied to unresolved fears, desires, and forgotten parts of ourselves, parts we've hidden away but can no longer ignore. Imagine holding onto a rope tied to a collapsing bridge. You're gripping it so tightly, afraid to let go, but every second it pulls you closer to the edge. Emotional attachments work the same way. They feel safe, but they keep you from the freedom you truly crave. Jung's wisdom shows us a way out, a way to confront these chains, break free, and turn the energy of attachment into the key to personal transformation. Emotional attachments are the invisible threads that connect us to people, places, memories, or ideas. They feel comforting, but they also hold the power to weigh us down. Jung saw these attachments not as random feelings, but as expressions of the unconscious, deeply tied to our past experiences and hidden emotions. These attachments are formed when we invest emotionally in something that gives us a sense of identity or security. It might be a relationship that made you feel seen, a memory of success that defined your worth, or even a painful experience you've held onto because letting go feels too uncertain. Think of someone who clings to an old relationship, replaying moments that once brought joy but now only bring pain. It's not just the person they can't let go of, it's what that connection represented: comfort, validation, or a sense of belonging. Emotional attachments are like a backpack filled with stones. At first, the weight might seem manageable, but as life goes on, every new stone adds to the load. Eventually, it becomes impossible to move forward without addressing what you're carrying. Jung believed that attachments often represent projections of our own unresolved parts, the fears we suppress, the desires we deny, and the traits we avoid acknowledging in ourselves. These attachments aren't just about the external world. They're mirrors reflecting what's within us. These emotional bonds influence how we see ourselves and the world around us. They dictate how we react to challenges, how we form new relationships, and even how we pursue our goals. An attachment to past failures, for example, can make someone fear trying again, while clinging to old success might prevent them from taking new risks. What makes attachments particularly tricky is that they often operate in the background, unnoticed. You might think you've moved on, but the way you react in certain situations, the defensiveness, the hesitation, reveals otherwise. Understanding the nature of emotional attachments is the first step to breaking free. But why do these attachments feel so impossible to let go of? To truly understand this, we need to explore the deeper layers of our mind, uncovering what these attachments represent and why they become so deeply embedded in our psyche. Holding on feels natural, even comforting, but the cost is far greater than most of us realize. It's the weight we carry in our hearts, minds, and even our futures. When we refuse to let go, the past becomes a shadow that lingers over everything we do. Old attachments, whether to a failed relationship, a painful memory, or even an outdated self-image, slowly erode our emotional energy. They keep us revisiting wounds that never heal. Think of someone who constantly replays an argument in their mind, obsessing over what they could have said differently. This attachment doesn't resolve the argument. It keeps the pain alive, turning it into a loop that consumes their peace of mind. Carl Jung believed that unresolved attachments tie us to unintegrated parts of ourselves. They act like magnets for our unprocessed emotions, pulling us into the same patterns and reactions again and again. It's as if the psyche is screaming for closure, yet we resist. Attachments are not just mental constructs, they manifest physically. Chronic stress, sleepless nights, and even illnesses can stem from holding on to emotions that no longer serve us. The body carries the burden of the mind. Imagine dragging a heavy suitcase through an airport. At first, you don't notice the weight, but as time goes on, Your arms ache, your back stiffens, and every step feels harder than the last. Emotional attachments work the same way. They accumulate and weigh you down, often without you realizing it. Holding on traps us in a cycle of stagnation. We replay the past instead of embracing the present. We hesitate to take risks or form new connections because we're still entangled in what once was. The longer we hold on, the harder it becomes to imagine life without that weight. Why do we hold on, even when it hurts? Because attachments offer an illusion of safety. They tether us to the familiar, even if it's painful. Letting go feels like stepping into the unknown, and that uncertainty is terrifying. Jung reminds us that the past isn't the enemy. It's our resistance to confronting and integrating it that keeps us stuck. True freedom comes not from denying our attachments, but from understanding them and learning to release them. But what if letting go isn't about forgetting or erasing the past? What if it's about transforming it into something that fuels your growth? Let's explore how Jung's approach offers a way forward. Letting go isn't just difficult, it feels impossible because it challenges the very foundation of how we see ourselves and the world. When we hold on to emotional attachments, we're not just clinging to people or memories, we're holding on to pieces of our identity. A failed relationship, a missed opportunity, or a painful experience becomes part of the story we tell ourselves about who we are. Letting go feels like erasing a part of that story, leaving us wondering, who am I without this? Carl Jung argued that attachments persist because they are rooted in the unconscious. They represent more than just external connections. They're tied to the parts of ourselves we've buried, avoided, or left unresolved. Letting go requires facing these hidden aspects, and that's not something our psyche does willingly. As strange as it sounds, we often find comfort in the very things that hurt us. Familiar pain feels safer than the uncertainty of moving forward. It's why someone might stay in a toxic relationship or replay a hurtful memory, because at least they know what to expect. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff, holding onto a rope tied to a crumbling bridge. The bridge is falling apart and the rope is fraying, but you cling to it because letting go means falling into the unknown. Emotional attachments are that rope, fragile, but somehow they feel like the only thing keeping us from losing control. Jung believed that attachments are often tied to the shadow, the parts of ourselves we suppress or deny. For example, clinging to an old relationship might reflect a fear of loneliness we haven't addressed. These unresolved fears and desires make letting go feel like facing a piece of ourselves we'd rather ignore. Another reason letting go feels impossible is the illusion of control. We hold on to attachments as if we can somehow rewrite the past or change the outcome. But the truth is, the past is unchangeable. What we're really doing is avoiding the discomfort of acceptance. Even when we try to let go, our emotions pull us back. Nostalgia, guilt, regret. They act like invisible strings, keeping us tied to what was. The more we resist these emotions, the stronger they become. But what if letting go isn't about fighting these emotions? What if it's about understanding them, accepting them, and transforming them into a source of strength? Jung's approach to integration holds the answer. Letting go isn't about erasing the past, it's about transforming it. Carl Jung believed that by understanding and integrating the emotions tied to our attachments, we can free ourselves from their grip and use them as a source of personal growth. The first step Jung proposed is simple yet profound. Recognize the attachment for what it is. Often, we label our emotions as good or bad, acceptable or unacceptable. Jung emphasized that these judgments only strengthen our resistance. Instead, observe your attachment without criticism. Ask yourself, what does this connection represent? Security, validation, a sense of belonging. Jung's theory of the shadow explains why letting go is so difficult. The emotions tied to attachments often reflect parts of ourselves we've suppressed or denied. For example, Clinging to a past relationship might reveal fears of loneliness or inadequacy. Instead of avoiding these emotions, Jung taught that we must confront and integrate them. Imagine a locked room in your mind where all your repressed fears and desires are stored. Opening that door feels terrifying, but it's the only way to understand what's inside and take back control. Jung believed that growth requires pain. Emotional attachments often stem from a fear of loss, but avoiding this fear only makes it stronger. Accepting the reality of loss allows us to process it fully, rather than letting it fester in the unconscious. Pain is not the enemy. It's a guide leading us to healing. Jung taught that the energy tied to attachments doesn't disappear. It shifts. By consciously letting go, we redirect that energy towards self-discovery and new opportunities. This transformation isn't about forgetting. It's about finding new meaning in what remains. Symbolic acts can help make this process tangible. Write a letter to the attachment. Express everything it meant to you, then release it by burning the letter or setting it adrift in water. This act signals to the unconscious that you are ready to move forward. For Jung, letting go was never about weakness. It was about courage. It's a journey into the depths of the self, where we confront our fears, embrace our shadow, and emerge stronger and more whole. But what happens after we let go? Jung believed that this process isn't the end. It's the beginning of something greater, a journey toward individuation and self-realization. Myths are not just ancient stories. They are maps of the human experience, guiding us through challenges like letting go, transformation, and self-discovery. One of the most universal patterns in mythology is the hero's journey, a cycle of departure, transformation, and return. Carl Jung believed this journey wasn't just a story. It was a reflection of the psychological processes we all go through. Letting go of emotional attachments mirrors the trials and transformations of the hero. In myths, the hero often starts by leaving the comfort of the familiar. For us, this is the moment we realize an attachment no longer serves us. It's the call to adventure, a challenge to confront what we've been avoiding. Whether it's a memory, a relationship, or a self-limiting belief, the journey begins with acknowledging the need for change. The middle of the hero's journey is filled with trials that test their strength and resolve. Jung saw this as the point where we confront the shadow, the hidden, repressed parts of ourselves. These trials aren't external, they're internal battles with our fears, doubts, and insecurities. Letting go requires courage, much like the hero facing the dragon that guards the treasure. In myths, the hero often finds a magical tool or gains wisdom after facing their greatest challenge. For us, this transformation comes when we integrate the lessons from our attachments. By understanding what they represented and accepting the pain of release, we gain clarity and strength, turning emotional weight into personal power. The hero's journey doesn't end with transformation. It concludes with their return to the world, bringing back the wisdom they've gained. Similarly, when we let go of attachments, we don't leave them behind entirely. Instead, we carry forward the lessons they've taught us, using them to shape a new chapter in our lives. Consider the story of Persephone, who descends into the underworld and emerges stronger and wiser. Her journey reflects the process of confronting darkness, embracing transformation, and returning with a renewed sense of self. Letting go is not about erasing the past. It's about transforming it into something meaningful. Jung saw myths as a reminder that this process is universal, timeless, and deeply human. We are all heroes on our own journeys of release and renewal. But myths also remind us that every hero plays a role. Jung believed that the archetypes within us, the hero, the caregiver, even the trickster, shape how we approach this journey of release and self-discovery. Letting go isn't just about releasing the past, it's about reclaiming your power, understanding yourself, and stepping into a life unburdened by what no longer serves you. Jung's wisdom reminds us that the journey of release is not a loss, but a transformation, a path to discovering who we truly are. As you move forward, ask yourself, what am I still holding on to, and how can I begin to release it? Remember, the attachments we cling to often reflect fears we're ready to confront and overcome. In letting go, you're not leaving something behind, you're opening space for something new to begin. To truly find yourself, you must let go of everything that isn't you. Carl Jung. If this journey resonates with you, join the conversation in the comments. Share what you've discovered about your own attachments and how you've begun to release them. And if you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Your support helps us continue exploring the depths of human potential together.